Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And this is Ellen coming to you from the beautiful island of St. Bart's, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Coming to you direct from the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center in New Brunswick, New Jersey, this is Dennis. And on this edition of Light Talk, we discuss lighting black drapes, the Apple series, The Studio, French scenes, ooh la la, and another PSA from No More 10 out of 12s. But most importantly on Light Talk, we have a special host, the man known as Stan K.
Hey.
Welcome back, Stan.
Hey, it's not just, it's your old friend Stan, and I'm standing in today with the king of Light Talk, David Jacques, from the beautiful wetlands of sunny Florida. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers
and Sister.
So welcome to episode 445.
Dennis, you got any news for us today, buddy?
Well, last night I went out to supper with, I forget what you guys always called him, the handsomest man in manufactured. What was it you guys called him?
An uncommonly good-looking man.
Ah. Well,
he's part of the French scenes we're going to talk about later.
That is Bobby Hale himself from High End Systems, but he's in New York City doing his thing and showing off new products and doing demos. And I believe he mentioned he was bringing some new gear or showing off some new gear for Lion King with Don Holder. But Lighting Design Group is working on a new studio, and we just bought over 70 Lone Stars from him. So he took myself and a few of our designers out to supper last night. And those designers, coincidentally, were former students of Stan K himself, Scott Lawrence and Sloan Colsar.
Who were they? What are their names again? I never heard of them. I've never heard of them.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was how we first met maybe 10, 12 years ago when I called you for a recommendation on Scott Lawrence, who was hired as one of our designers.
I think he's been around the block a few times since then.
Yes, he has, and he's now back and running our equipment division. And Sloan Colsar has been with us now almost 4 years, graduating from your former institution. And he basically is my assistant on many, many projects. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a presentation at LDI on the Sunday, what is that date, Ellen?
December 7th.
December 7th at 11 a.m. And Sloan is he worked with me on Good Morning America. We're doing a presentation on the lighting of Good Morning America. So I'm anxious about that, especially since this is the first time I've been to LDI in 20 years.
Whoa.
And
how can that be? Where have you been?
You know what? Just running around the country, the world, doing shows, and I'm excited.
Well, how about that? It took getting you to be a host on Light Talk to get you to come back.
Ellen, you are 100% right. And
Amazing.
When you said, while you're there, why don't you do a presentation?
Right.
You didn't hear me say maybe. You heard me say, yes, ma'am.
Yay!
Anyway.
That's worth booking an airplane flight right now.
Yeah,
I did mine this morning.
No good.
But anyway, that's the new business for my end. Steve, anything going on in Dallas? Hey, did you go to that AmFAR dinner with your friend Nicole Kidman? I read that she gave an award to Taylor Sheridan at the AmFAR benefit in Dallas, and I'm sure you were invited.
Don't bring her up. That's still a sore spot in my life, and
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I couldn't resist.
Maybe it's time for the divorce. I don't know. Yes, besides her. Yes, there is something unusual happening in Dallas, and I'd never kind of seen this before. Let me just read the press release on that. Over the past 2 weeks, the Dallas Independent School District students have gained hands-on experience behind the scenes through our Backstage Spotlight Career Intensive. And DISD is partnering with two organizations, Jacobs and the Dallas College. And so what they're doing is they're taking high school students and they're showing them what it is to work in lighting, work in sound, build scenery. So they're just showing them the possibilities for those students who are thinking about maybe this is a career. They're giving them a chance to get their toes wet. But I just think it's amazing that Jacobs and Dallas College and the DISD are spending money on this and doing it in good faith.
Sounds like a worthy cause.
I think it is. I really think it is.
Well, that's good news. Ellen, if you don't have news that you want to share with us, then why don't you take the first question?
I think I will. So my question is from Sam in San Antonio. And he says, I'm a television production instructor at a high school, and we have a studio with a black pull-around drape 10 feet high. I envision lights that are on the floor shining up on the drape with different colors. What kind of lights do I need to accomplish that? Then they will not flicker on the camera. Well, luckily for us, our television guru, Dennis Size, is here today. So over to you, Dennis.
Oh, I was just about to throw that one at Stan. You did say it was black drapes,
Yeah,
right?
black. Now, I'm assuming he's going to use LEDs of some sort.
Well, I'm assuming he needs to change that black curtain into something else.
Make it a white cyc, you mean?
It's not
anything.
really black, is
How
it?
do you know?
Well, Dennis will explain. Dennis will explain how we make black fabric.
I've been asked to do that many times, and I'll tell you, there's a certain amount of success that he can achieve, but you need very bright lights to do it. The reason they use black on stage and in television, as we well know, is to avoid any stray light. And the fact that it's black and you want to color it is wrong. As Steve said, put up a white site. I often recommend to people in studios, if you intend on ever coloring it, use something that's like battleship gray, because if you don't light it, it will have a tendency to recede into darkness, but will accept light fairly well. That being said, if he wants to make his black drape red, forget it. It's never going to happen. I've had fair amount of success making black drapes blue because the television cameras are much more blue sensitive, but you need a pretty bright source, and there's a number of pars. Par would be the fixture I would usually use and put it on a little base plate. But you'd have like the ETC color source par or the Chauvet color dash or the Elation 6 par. Everybody makes a particular fixture of that range that will work. But you're talking about fixtures that are about, I'm guessing around $800 or $900 a piece. Any particular manufacturer's par of that level will do the job. But again, the colors that the black will receive and then get picked up on camera are very limited. Blue will have a tendency to be seen. Red, not a chance. Yellow, maybe. But it's very difficult because it's black. And if the drape is, let's say, a heavy napped black velour, forget it. It'll be even difficult to get the blue to read on the black. If it's a duvetine or a commando cloth or something like that, where it's a little more reflective, the odds are better that you'll get the black to reflect the light.
I want to throw something in there. Can I throw something in there?
Sure, yeah.
So I don't know how this reacts with the camera, but I was saying before that it's not really black because black is the absence of light. So the fabric is made from one of three things: super, super dark blue dye, super, super dark green dye, or super, super dark red dye to make the black. And I learned this because one time we rented tuxedos from 3 different tuxedo houses, and they were all black tuxedos. And then we put them under the same lighting condition, and one read more bluish and one read more greenish and one read more reddish because of the blacks, the way the blacks were made. So I think you might try different colors and see maybe red does, if it's made with really deep red might work better than blue or vice versa. I don't know I don't know how the camera would handle that, but for the eye, I've certainly seen that occur.
Red is a very difficult color for cameras to perceive. It takes a lot of red to really read. But I know what you're saying. I've seen that myself, where you look at black and it has a bit of a red tint to it.
because it's not made with, it's not absent. It has to be made with the dye, right? It starts out as cotton or whatever its natural color is, and the dyes, it's just, so the dyes are in it. It's not negative.
Sure.
It's not a negative thing.
Did you see Bad Bunny on Saturday Night Live this week?
No, I missed it.
It's worth watching, bringing up what you're talking about. Oh God, her name, Doja or Doja?
Doja Cat.
Doja Cat. Doja Cat was absolutely stunning. It was an unbelievable performance. And her second song was, the stage was completely red, and just a little bit of white light picking her out, setting in a rose. And it was just gorgeous, the red on camera.
Sometimes it could be such a vibrant. I recall, I forget who broadcast the Super Bowl a couple years ago when Rihanna was the halftime show, but remember all that vibrant, brilliant red that was throughout the whole design
Sure.
of that. It's a big statement. Steve, do you have anything to add about lighting black other than why are you doing that?
It's funny because that comes up more than you might expect. I mean, I don't know if I'm alone in the university world, but about every other year, I get a young student who eagerly wants to put a black cyclorama in and light it. And it always, sometimes they're moderately successful, but most of the time it's just like, oh, are the lights on? Yep, they're on. Let's put something else in back there.
It's interesting because I had to do a show years ago where they did want that. They wanted it to be black, but then all of a sudden they wanted it to be a color. And could we, light the black? And I saw the point and I realized that, yes, it did need to be a variety of color. And I recommended this highly unique, very inventive thing called a black scrim. Remember those?
Yeah.
So we just hung a black scrim in front of the cyc. We didn't light the cyc, and the black scrim read as black. And then when we lit the cyc, it did what scrims and cycs do. And it's, the oldest trick in the book, but that's the way I would recommend that our friend who wrote into Ellen would solve the problem.
I like that. I like that a lot. Well, I guess that brings us to our next question, Dennis, and it seems that you are up.
This question came from one of our fellow lighting designers, Kimberly Crago, who reached out on our Light Talk Facebook page. She asked, what do people think about the look and the lighting of the Apple series, The Studio? Have you seen that, Steve?
Yes, and I'm going to fess up right now, Kimberly. I had never seen it, and I sat down and I thought, I'll watch a few episodes so I can intelligently answer your question. And after about 5 minutes, I became so interested in the program, I wasn't looking at the lighting anymore. So that says to me that maybe it's perfect. It can't get any better because I got lost in the story and loved it.
Ellen, have you seen the show?
Is this the one about the skateboarding?
No, it's about...
What is this about?
Continental Studios, fake studio name, in Los Angeles that's producing... It's basically a film studio show that's led by the head of the studio, played by Seth Rogen, and a brilliant cast. Catherine O'Hara plays the former head who produces a show for him. Catherine Hahn plays the head of marketing, and she is just over-the-top crazy. Bryan Cranston plays the, I guess, the CFO, CEO of the studio. It's got a great cast.
I get it.
But I knew nothing about it until a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the Emmy Awards. And I mentioned that it won the Emmy for Outstanding Lighting for a cinematography for a series, the half-hour series. And David is apparently a fan. And he was talking about how wonderful it was, and it won production design. And I actually looked it up. It was nominated for 23 Emmys, the most nominated comedy debut in history. It won 13 Emmys and broke the record for the most wins of a comedy series in a single season. And I was like, wow, I better watch this show and see what the fascination is. I had talked to David about it last week, and he said, oh, yeah, you got to watch these episodes. And so I watched the first episode, and Steve is right. It kind of sucks you in, But the second episode, which I thought was just brilliant, is the one that won the Emmy. It was an episode called "The Oneer," and one of the gimmicks that the show uses is to shoot as many as possible scenes in one take. Very much like that show that you guys talked about six,
Yeah, the
7 months ago.
Adolescent.
The Adolescents, yes. I never saw that, but it's the same gimmick, except this is a comedy show. And that sort of oneer is usually done with dramatic productions, not necessarily comic. But the second episode, called The Oneer, was about a oneer, a film they were doing with a one scene take, and the whole half hour was done as a 1 hour, a oneer. Normally, the shows have 4 or 5 oneers in the show, but this particular episode, because it was about a oneer, it was the whole episode. I'll tell you, it was pretty incredible. Doing an uninterrupted shot of that long a duration is highly complicated and very difficult to do. The cinematographer is Adam Newport-Berra, and he actually only uses one camera. So they're using one camera for the series with one lens. I had read they use a 21 millimeter lens as the lens of choice, which is a pretty wide lens. And they basically have fully rigged up lighting connected to lighting consoles in the standard sets. And then in most of the location things, they're doing available light. It's very complicated, and they do a very good job of it. Visually, it's stunning in terms of the old Hollywood look, and the scene designer's done some incredible things to create a lot of rust tones and copper tones, very warm tones. But you can also tell they're doing a lot of post-production, and they're injecting saturation into it. And they're also beefing up the color temperature, or should I say down, depending on which direction you like. But it's going into the 3,000, 2,500 Kelvin range instead of standard daylight range. The reason they're doing it, from what I understand, is it creates a crazy frenetic energy, and they're trying to show off the chaotic world and the absurd nature of the film industry, which they do, and it's very successful. But I found it annoying, and a lot of times I wanted to see several shows, so I watched the first show, I watched the second show, and then I said, I'll watch the last 2 shows. And I watched the last 2 shows, which then lead into season 2, which I believe they're doing. I had no interest at all in going back and watching any of the other shows in between. I found it a bit annoying because of the frenetic pace. And although the acting is great, when the camera moves in circle actors, half the time, no, I wouldn't say half the time, 20% of the time, actors are acting in the dark. You don't see their faces. It becomes an atmospheric thing. And it always bothers me when that happens, because in dramatic productions, as they say, the eyes are the mirror to the soul, or the window to the soul. You don't see their faces. You don't see their eyes. You don't have the opportunity of empathizing or sympathizing with the characters, and that bothers me. So whereas Steve found that he was able to involve himself more with the storyline, I kept getting annoyed that the production gimmicks were interfering with the storyline.
It's interesting that you mentioned the amount of natural light that's being used in that. I'm trying to learn more about bounce and rags and scrims, and I was surprised that Brokeback Mountain is almost entirely shot with natural light. I mean, it's so gorgeous. The stuff that we take for granted around us, the film and TV guys can tap in all the time and just make beautiful, beautiful things.
Well,
Do
I think in the hands of a genius, one film that comes to mind that I always recall as being all available light was Barry Lyndon, the
Oh
Stanley
yeah.
Kubrick movie, which was just beautiful. But again, it's more drama. I think when you have a show like The Studio, and again, I'm not saying I didn't find it funny. Half the time I was rolling on the floor laughing. Uh, it's just that sort of satirical approach has a tendency to annoy me a bit, and it's taking a satirical look at the film industry. And a lot of times when I was watching the show, I found myself getting sucked into the behind the scenes story, and I felt like I was at work. It was a bit annoying, you know.
You're sounding like Ozzy Osbourne now. When Ozzy Osbourne went and saw Spinal Tap, he said everyone else in the theater was laughing, and I was sitting there watching in shock, wondering what was going to happen to next, and if it's stuff I'd experienced. So maybe this is what you're seeing. You're seeing the Spinal Tap of the
Maybe.
TV
I
film
think it's
industry.
just, I'm not sure if Kimberly liked the look or not. She just wanted to know what people thought of it. And I'll tell you, I think the cinematographer, I think the production design, I think all of their work is spectacular. I mean, it's really a beautiful looking show. But I found the show itself annoying. And
Hmm.
that's my personal opinion. But what do I know? Apparently the ratings are great, and it won more Emmys than any other show, this a comedy level show. Ellen, you'll have to watch us and let us know.
Well, I will. I looked it up. It says that that one single lens is an Arri Master Prime 21.
21, yeah, that's
Yeah.
you could tell
Interesting.
it's a wide angle, but what's really interesting, and I'll tell you, the cinematographer is a bit of a genius, and his camera operators, they will go right into someone's face for a close-up. I mean, like 6, 7 inches away from the face, and then they'll do a rack focus of 30 or 40 feet, and they're maintaining perfect focus. It's really well done.
And where
as
do
I
you
said,
watch this?
it's on Apple Plus, I think it is, or
I don't
Apple
have that.
One.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I don't either. I just, because David said I have to watch it, we got it for the weekend. But there's
Start your free trial now.
yeah, exactly. Apple
There you go.
One had a great show that I don't know if it's been continued or not, called For All Mankind. And we kept Apple the subscription for 2 years at least because the show was so wonderful. Takes place in the 60s. The production design was spectacular, and it's all about man landing on the moon. Except in the very, first 10 minutes, it's all those wonderful images and video that we all remember from the moon landing, except when the flag gets planted on the moon, it's a Russian flag. So it's an alternative reality, and it's developed very well. Another show that they do on Apple is called The Morning Show, and it's basically about morning television shows, and it started maybe 5, 6 years ago, whenever the whole Matt Lauer debacle happened, because that was the storyline for the first season. Very well done show, but because I do so many morning shows, I felt like I was at work when I was watching it. So I just,
I'll bet.
yeah. But you should try and see. I'd love to hear what you think about The Studio.
Yeah, I'll try and take a look.
And if you only get a shot at one of them, the second episode, The Wonder, it's really well done.
Okay.
And one of their other gimmicks that makes it worth watching is real people. So they'll have real directors playing themselves. And I think it was the first episode, there was this director by the name of Martin Scorsese, who was
I know him.
the featured actor, and the Seth Rogen character basically screws him and promises him a movie and then takes it away. And I think it was the third episode. Yeah, I can't remember the sequence, but Ronnie Howard was the director. It's incredible the number of people in it and the cameos that go on. So try to catch it.
Okay.
You are listening to Light Talk. Today we are sponsored by...
It's a public service announcement from No More 10 out of 12s. How to Speak Director. What they say versus what they mean. A survival guide for early career designers, stage managers, and anyone who's ever screamed internally during tech. So here's the deal. You started out programming in high school, got your BFA at a decent state school, and even crushed an MFA at one of those fancy programs back east with too much snow and not enough heating in the studios. You know how to patch a rig blindfolded. You can quote color theory in 3 languages, and you once field stripped a VL 3000 in 47 seconds under pressure. You are a lighting beast. But there's one thing that no one taught you: how to speak director. Welcome to Director Speak. Let's translate a few common phrases you will hear during the tech rehearsal and decode what is really being said. Let's go with that for now. Translation. That was 100% weird, and I hated it. But I'm being diplomatic. I will ask you to change it again later when it's more difficult. Make a bold choice. Translation. Whatever that was, never do it again. Literally. Anything else would be less upsetting. We can fix that later. Translation. God, help us, we will never fix this before opening. It's almost there. Translation. It's not there. It's not even in the neighborhood. I see where you are going. Translation. I have absolutely no idea what to say, and I'm hoping the next lighting cue makes more sense. It just needs a little more magic. Translation. I don't know what's wrong, but it's your problem now. Can we soften that? Translation. Do something, anything, not just that. My personal favorite. It feels a little presentational. Translation. I'm bored. Fix it. I don't know what presentational means either, but it sounds like a note. Do you think that's the right cue? Translation. This is definitely the wrong cue. I'm just giving you a chance to admit it. And finally, number 10. You seem to be using a good deal of amber. Translation. Stop that. It looks like I have a cast of Oompa Loompas on stage. So there you are, a crash course in director speak, the unspoken language that no one covered in grad school, undergraduate design class, or that one seminar where you had to pretend you understood what dramaturgical intention meant. And look, we get it. Tech is intense. Everyone's stressed. Emotions are high. Cues are late. The sound isn't quite right. The costumes don't fit. Yet somehow, lighting is expected to solve everything, including emotional tone, dramatic pacing, and the director's existential dread. But here's the truth. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and yes, that cue was indeed the right one. So take a breath, sip that cold coffee, and smile when someone says, let's go with that for now. This has been a public service announcement from No More 10 out of 12s.
And now, back to Late Talk.
Well, Stan, so you're setting in for David today. You've been on sabbatical now for a few months. What have you been up to? Anything interesting in the lighting world, or are you just taking it easy?
Well, I'm taking it easy. I'm sort of like, I'm loving not being supervised. How's that?
Aren't you still emeritus at the university? Do you do anything there or no?
Yeah, I'm doing stuff at the university. Trying to protect the faculty at a time when that's challenging. Doing work with the union. We have a meeting every week with the administration, so that's kind of fun. Spending a lot more time with my family, as they like to say, which I really am. So I am enjoying that. And in terms of work, there's a couple of things going on. I mean, I got a bunch of projects, maybe too many. I'm working on figuring out what I don't know if you've ever heard this expression. Let's see if I can get the initials right. EBITAD. Anybody?
EBITDA.
EBITDA. Yeah.
Yes, it's how much money you're making compared to how much you should be making.
Well, you know what it stands for?
Oh, earnings before blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Right.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm working on figuring out what that is because some people are curious. So we'll see how that goes. I am gearing up for a programming session. I've got a week of programming coming up in December, which was scheduled a week before my retina surgery. So how's that for good timing? And which is causing me to have to learn a new console. So how many of you know the Q server?
Never heard of it.
So you've never heard of it? I'm sure Ellen's never heard of it. Dennis, you ever hear of the Q server?
Your friend Scott Lawrence sells more than I care to number. It's a common device that goes into a lot of the installations we do now as backup because it's a cheaper way, especially in architectural and systems design, of controlling lights without using a console.
Yeah, it's true. It can snapshot from a console, but
Yep.
this is not on this project. We specified. What is the good ETC one for architecture? Mosaic, I think, and it got pushed out. So I'm dealing with
value engineered.
Yeah, that's the term. So so it's Q server. That's what I'm going to be dealing with. And so I'm in the process of making a spreadsheet of all the queues. And then I've actually opened Q server on I can do it here. So I can patch it for them. I can get it all ready. And then I can basically, blind write a bunch of our stuff. So when we get in there, we're not starting from scratch. But the interesting part of this design, I might have sent some of you some pictures. I think I sent them to Ellen. I don't know if I sent them to Dennis.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that the light, the space that pushes the light through these apertures is daylight, right? And then we're supplementing with theatrical. Dennis, you know the history of the project.
Yeah,
so
you sent me the photos of that. It's
right.
beautiful.
So when you go into Q, and I think the reason the architects asked for a week of time, which will be lovely to spend a week in Sarasota in December. So I'm looking forward to that on the client's nickel. Plus, I'll be working, but you can't really. You want to make a cue that dances with the daylight. Well, okay, you got to be there at sunrise. And what's the weather? The weather is a variable. And you're trying to make some looks and cues that are working in concert with the daylight. Of course, there's going to be nighttime stuff too. Then that's not an issue. But during the day, you've got to supplement. And I guess the good thing, the way I've been rationalizing it in my head, that the design is so smart that no matter what we do, it still looks cool. So even if we do something that doesn't fit in our minds, it still looks great. The observer will never know the difference, but it's sort of challenging. So that's what's going on in terms of lighting, other than the typical rep plots that we do for high schools. And we've got 5 high schools running all in different phases. Some of them are in schematic. So we're just kind of getting going. We move a lot. It's interesting. Like today I was in a meeting this morning, and they go through all the different consultants, and we're usually last. Like acoustics and lighting are the last ones, on the list. And the architect goes, "Well, Stan, you've got your narrative and your specs already done. You're ahead of everybody else." And I said, "Yes, maybe we are, but you guys tend to treat us like we're plug and play when we're really infrastructure. So soon you're going to have to coordinate us with structure and plumbing and mechanical and all of that stuff." So they're keeping us pretty busy. And we're trying to figure out how to be a little less busy.
Sounds good. That sounds like a really interesting project. You'll have to talk more about it when it's finished.
Yeah, that'll be it has to be done by Christmas because it's a church. And that's
okay.
And that's what they say. And we'll see if we can deliver the baby on time.
Sounds good.
It's interesting when you mention the Q server system because a lot of people are unaware of it. I'm only aware of it because our systems division puts them in. I have no idea how they work, really. But I do know a lot of the programmers we use don't know how to program Q servers, and it's become like a specialty thing that you have to learn.
There's good videos online, which I'm going to be watching the next few days to refresh. I did another project with the Q server, and it's sort of what I'm worried about is we have 19 movers behind that wall. and some strip lights. And there were certain effects like you would do on a console where you could do a fan, sweeping across the wall. I don't think it's going to have offset or some of the things we'd see on a theatrical console. So I've got to probably do that in steps. But those are the most kind of, let's call them sophisticated cues we'll do. But for general stuff, color, timing, but it's really nice is it has things that theatrical consoles don't, is it has a lot of things can be plugged into it. So it can take data from a lot of sources. And we were going to have a plugin connected to AccuWeather. So we would know what the weather, it could know what the weather is. And then when the weather does X, you do Y. You run that cue sequence when this.
So you're going to leave a lot of presets for the church staff?
Yeah, because the Q server, so Interactive Technologies, just to plug them, is if you want to look into it, is the company that makes it. It'll have touch screens, not the Parrot. We have a theatrical console in there as well, but this project got taken over by, I think I talked to you about it, Dennis, got taken over by Sweetwater Integration.
Yes, you did.
Right. And so they have made substitutions because they signed the contract with the owners. So we don't have a lot of say anymore. So whatever we get, we have to be resourceful and work with it. So there's some kind of Chevet console on it for the theatrical fix. There is a catwalk sort of front of house situation for the stage or the platform lighting, and then the effect lighting is going to be on the Q server. So we'll see how it works out, and I'll report back. But that's the one that's occupying my time this week.
Might be an interesting seminar or tutorial or something for future LDIs, Ellen, because this Q server thing is becoming more and more prevalent.
Yep.
Well, the integration,
we can talk about that for next year.
The overlap of architecture and theater we know has been happening for a long time. I don't know if Interactive Technologies comes to LDI, Ellen.
I don't know. I'm going to look them up and see.
Yeah, but they probably go to Lightfair, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it is, but it is a fairly robust and reliable. You know what's cool about it? On the last project we did with it, we didn't want to, it was also down in Sarasota. It was a Jewish center, and we did the facade lighting was controlled with it. And we couldn't go down there all the time. So we were able to, and they were helpful to log into it remotely and program it. And I was in Gainesville and my programmer was in Fort Myers and the project was in Sarasota. And we would literally have a live, somebody out there with a camera, and we would be making the changes. And that guy would be on Zoom and I give him remote control and he would be affecting the Q server software, something that I had never done before, and we really had to figure it out. But it did work.
That's great. Well, Steve, you have the last question of the day.
Yes, it comes from Jennifer in South Carolina, and she writes, "My teacher said I need to find possible light cues in my script before rehearsal begins. She went on to say an easy way to start was to break my script into French scenes. What in the world is a French scene?" Well, let me tell you, that your teacher's on to something there. So a play is normally broken into acts and scenes, right? But you can take that and you can subdivide that even further. So a French scene is defined by the entrance or exit of a character on stage rather than the scene end or the act end. So we kind of do this already. We already kind of look at blocking on stage and a character comes in and we decide we need to make the stage bigger or we need to make the stage taller, or that characters bring in information that's going to change the direction of the play. So what we're doing with the French scene is simply finding all those moments, because usually when someone comes on stage, they have something to say that's important. They're not just wandering through. So that's a French scene. This started in the 17th century, and as you can imagine, it started in Paris, thus the name French scene.
Ooh, la la.
I have never heard of that before. I have learned something today. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I knew that.
Well, yeah, we already do it. I mean, you probably do it when someone walks onto the set.
Sure. Yeah, no,
When the
soap
thing
operas, they
shifts.
do that all the time, but I never heard it called that.
Right.
Well, the rockin' sounds of the Luminoids tells us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk Insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you do decide to litigate, you will have to deal with me, Snoot from the Snoot Group. And don't get it twisted. Just because I married one of these losers does not mean I will go easy on you. So don't with me.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers
and Sister.
Coming to you from New Brunswick, New Jersey, Gainesville, Florida, the Lone Star State, and that beautiful island gem in the Caribbean, St. Bart's.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
We'll see you next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Thank you, Stan. Bye, all.